James chapter 4, verse 6 says, "But he giveth more grace. Wherefore he saith, God resists the proud, but gives grace to the humble." One of the principal keys that gives people joy is God's unusual grace. We can never grow in grace by our own efforts. God's grace is His unmerited favor. Grace means that God showered favor and blessing on those who did not in any way deserve or earn it. They deserved His judgment and wrath, but He showed them favor. God's grace brings salvation to all people. When Paul writes, "For the grace of God has appeared," he is referring to the embodiment of grace in the person of Jesus Christ, who was full of grace and truth. John chapter 1, verse 14 says, "And the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us. And we beheld His glory, the glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth." It is not that God's grace is missing from the Old Testament. No one was saved in the Old Testament apart from God's grace. But as John chapter 1, verse 17 states, the contrast: "For the law was given by Moses, but grace and truth came by Jesus Christ." God rightly could have sent His Son to condemn us and judge us. But instead, John chapter 3, verse 17 says, "For God did not send His Son into the world to judge the world, but that the world might be saved through Him." Do you need the grace of God in your life today? In order to receive God's grace, you must become humble. To be humble is the opposite of being proud. Proud people have great difficulty in submitting to others. James chapter 4, verse 1 through 6 says, "What causes fights and quarrels among you? Don't they come from your desires that battle within you? You want something, but you don't get it. You kill and covet, but you cannot have what you want. You quarrel and fight. You do not have because you do not ask God. When you ask, you do not receive because you ask with wrong motives, that you may spend what you get on your own pleasures. You adulterous people. Don't you know that friendship with the world is hatred toward God? Anyone who chooses to be a friend of the world becomes an enemy of God. Or do you think Scripture says without reason that the Spirit He calls to live in us envies intensely? But He gives us more grace. That is why Scripture says, God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. Grace trains us to live righteously. This refers to a life of integrity, and uprightness in your dealings with others. It means conforming to God's standards of conduct as revealed in the commandments of His Word. The expression, the grace of God, may fairly be said to be the key word of Paul's theology. He cannot think of Christian salvation apart from the grace of God. The grace of God is His choosing to bless and favor us rather than curse us as our sin deserves. Sometimes we get so caught up in our own works that we forget chapter 8, which says, nothing can separate us from the love of God. The grace of God is a gift of indescribable glory, for which every believer should be eternally grateful. Without it, we would be lost forever. But by it, we receive blessings, honor, and joy. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video. Thank you for watching.